You were the hit of the conference. Thanks for making the programming committee and myself look like geniuses. Marty Ford, President, NEA-CEFE. Looking for something different for your next event?
I just love what he did. So many of us need this guidance, these pointers, these reminders of our own abilities.
Something special, inspiring, memorable.
He had them in the palm of his hand. It was a classic.
Something that will touch and motivate people in a way they've never known before.
They say when the student needs to learn, the teacher appears, and he was a teacher to everyone in the organization today.
Finding just that right voice to reach your audience is everything. Without that voice, even the most effective message can get lost. You're about to see a unique way to communicate powerful ideas that your people will enjoy and take with them and learn from and remember for the rest of their lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 16th President of the United States, Mr. Abraham Lincoln.
One of the reasons I was able to endure the early disasters of the Civil War was my previous experience with failure. Have you ever noticed that a person who's never been sick a day in his life, when he does get sick, just goes like that sometimes? A person who's been sick all his life just hangs on forever, develops an immunity to everything. Well, I developed an immunity to failure by failing so many times. I discovered there's life after failure. You just keep picking yourself up. A woman came up to me once and she said, "Mr. Lincoln, you're the ugliest man I ever saw in my life." I said, "I can't help it." She said, "You could stay home." People used to make fun of my long legs and began to think, just how long should a man's legs be? Thinking the matter over very carefully, I delivered myself with this learned opinion. In order to preserve harmony of proportion, a man's lower limb should be at least long enough to reach from his body to the ground. The little boy came up to me and said I had inspired him to become president. I said, "Thank you very much. What did I do?" He said, "Nothing you did, sir. It was something my father said." He said, "If Lincoln can be president, anybody can be president." Frankly, they made more of me in death than they should have. They tried to make a saint out of me, which of course I wasn't. I remember my Secretary of War, Mr. Stanton, bending over me and saying, "There lies the most perfect ruler of men who ever lived." It was the first compliment he had ever paid me. You laugh. Same thing will happen to you. No matter how ornery you are, somebody will think of something nice to say over you when they're sure you can't come back to benefit from the compliment.
I'm Gene Greisman. My specialty is communicating what makes people successful. I've made a lifelong study of Abraham Lincoln, the man, his work, his writings, his words. And I found that Mr. Lincoln's wit and wisdom are just as powerful today as they were over a century ago.
As Lincoln, Dr. Greisman talks about the secrets of high achievement, about ethics, diversity, how to deal with change, and how to be an effective leader.
I had the most diverse cabinet ever assembled in Washington. They bickered with one another, quarreled with one another, ridiculed one another and me, but I kept them on the team as long as they made a contribution. And let me say to you, as you build your teams, the easy, comfortable thing to do will be to surround yourself with people who are pretty much like you. Think the way you do, look the way you do, talk the way you do. But let me tell you, if you are brave enough and courageous enough to surround yourself with people who are different, people who think differently, they will help you penetrate markets you are unable to penetrate. They will help you solve problems you are unable to solve. It is not easy to use diversity, but the rewards are immense.
And just imagine Abraham Lincoln talking one-on-one with your audience in a question-answer session, imparting lessons learned from the past and strategies to help succeed in the future. Lincoln can share his wit and wisdom at your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, give your keynote address, conclude your conference, or ride in your parade. As Lincoln, Dr. Greisman has spoken to an audience of 25,000 in the Georgia Dome and the Ice Palace, at annual meetings and universities, and at Ford's Theater, and with as few as 20 people at a private sales meeting. Everywhere Gene Greisman goes, the response is overwhelming.
I really enjoyed it tonight. It was a great speech, and I think the kids here got a lot out of it.
These are lessons we can all learn, and I think Gene's the epitome of this, where he's sharing success principles with us. Those 9 were magnificent, and how he's doing this with his life for all others to learn those experiences.
The audience was captivated by your message and your entertaining style. Donald Plitnick, IBM. These talks contributed to this agency producing the largest amount of increase for the last quarter. John W. Baker, National Life of Vermont. You melded your knowledge of management principles with a superb acting ability and captivated the hearts and imaginations of all who were privileged to see you. Chief Judge Henry G. Watkins. Everyone loves Abraham Lincoln Live. When Lincoln speaks, people smile and laugh, and their lives are touched by his words. Gene Greisman has a doctorate in sociology and has taught at major universities in the U.S. and abroad. Dr. Greisman has won coveted awards and earned worldwide recognition for his books and articles, radio and television specials.
Interviews, when somebody would say something really powerful or wise, I would think, I wish lots and lots of people could hear what I just heard. And fortunately, through the privilege of the platform, I now have a chance to share some of those things.
Gene Greisman's Abraham Lincoln Live is often performed in conjunction with his seminars and keynote addresses on time management, leadership, diversity, and change.
I resolved that I would play a little psychological game. I would imagine that the person I was talking to had a sign around their neck. And on that sign, these words, "Make me feel important." And all the time I would talk to them, I would look at that sign. She said, if you can do that, you'll be much more successful when you communicate.
Dr. Greisman's presentation can be customized to deliver your individual message or theme. Your ability to take our vision and blend it into both programs was especially effective. Jack L. Cook, Lexmark.
It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth.
To find out more about what Abraham Lincoln Live can do for your next event, call the number on this cassette now.